Hello, back again, and we're going to finish up the UV mapping by laying out the UVs. So the idea now is that we've got the UVs, the seams all set up, and they look a lot better than what they had looked like before. So a couple things we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and open up the UV editor. So UV editor, and let's bring those in so we can take a look at what's going to happen now. Okay, so the object, as you can see, is in object mode. Okay, and we've got our tools here, our toolkit, and what we're going to do is we're going to open all our tools up. We're just going to open up the transform. Okay, we're going to open up our unfold. We can open up our cut and sew. Okay, and align to snap, and arrange and layout. So you can see we've got a lot of tools here. And the main tool I'm going to look at right now is called the unfold tool. Okay, so once we get all the UVs, now we can unfold them. So make sure the object's in object mode and it's selected, and click unfold. Now this may take a while depending on how complex your object is, and mine was very complex. And you can notice that all the pieces are here. And the next thing I do is I right click over the object and go into UV shell. I highlight all the UV shells, and I will scroll down to the last one, arrange and layout. Click on layout and just click on it. This allows us to see all our objects. There's quite a few. Okay, there's not as many as than there were before when we did automatic mapping, but there's still a lot of pieces here. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do in here is we are going to start moving these pieces out. Now, the question is, why would you do that? Well, we kind of need to know what is what, and where things go, and are they in the right direction, and are they the wrong way. So some of the things up here I'm going to talk to you about here. So we've got shaded mode on. So if we turn that off, okay, you can see that they're all blue. And if you turn this one on, you can see that we've got this is how the distortion is. Anything blue is contracted. That's the distortion, where it's squeezed together, and anything that's red will be stretched out. So we can see our UVs are almost white, and that is a good thing. You can see we did a really good job of getting those UVs, and that's this one right here. Okay, so I'm going to turn that one off. Okay, and that one's on, and blue means you're good. Okay, blue means you're good. If it's red, let me give you an example. So if I were to reverse that face, or those UVs, let's see if I can even do that. Flip, yeah, there we go. Okay, so if that UV was flipped, it would be red, and so this would be a bad UV. That would be bad. And so what you do is you select it, and you just click under Tools, click under Flip, and it flips it over. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the pieces that that pretty much look the same, that work together, and it's a good idea just to kind of get those laid out by themselves. Okay. So I'm just going to lay those out. And every piece, all the pieces that look kind of the same, I want to have them out of the way so we can easily know where And the problem is we just don't know where all these pieces are, so I'm going to click all the ones that are, just select all the ones that are kind of look the same and move those out of the way. Okay, so the idea is that once I get everything unfolded, you can see that, let's go ahead and give it that test we did before where we had the checkerboard, we put the checkerboard on there. So when we do that, you can see how our textures are laid out. And they're actually laid out pretty good. They're not really too bad. Okay. We can also select the pieces and notice that there's textile density issues. That means that we have a lot of textile density applied to this, meaning this is going to be higher resolution than this back piece. Okay. So if I click on this piece and this piece, these two need to be sewed together. Okay, so I'm going to click on these two guys right here, and those tell us, we can see, let's go ahead and turn this off now. You can see those two pieces, let's bring those over here. Those two pieces need to be sewed together. Well, we want to sew them right at that seam right here. Okay, so let's find out where that seam is, and let's go ahead and select the edge on this seam. I'm going to zoom in and select that edge right here on that seam, and you can see I think that's the right seam. It could be the wrong seam, but let's take a look. Yeah, that's not right. Let's see what other one we have here. Is that it? Yeah, that's it. Okay, yep, so there's the seam right there. So we want to select the seam. Okay, you can right click and go to edge mode and select the seam. Now this edge mode is a little bit different. This is for UV seams. It's not like the edge on your model. Okay, so it's a little different that way. So what we're going to do is we're going to move and sew. Okay, so we can go in here to cut and sew and go to move and sew. You can also go continue working in here if you want to move and sew. And I believe we can stitch together, sew together. Okay. Alright. Alright, so what we need to do is Control Z back. There we go. And let's move these a little closer together. Okay, as a shell. There we go. And you can see where our shells are. And I'm going to turn the grid snap off. There we go. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a couple things. I'm going to align. I'm going to show you some tools here. I'll scroll down, and we're going to orient the shell. Okay, and the shell sometimes orients properly, sometimes it doesn't. You can see that it's just not orienting properly. So I'm going to rotate, hitting the E key, and just rotate that around. Okay, do the best I can here, and rotate that around so they match up pretty good together. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and go to the edge mode here and select all the edges like this. Okay, and then I'm going to move and sew the edges together. So I'm going to go to cut and sew, move and sew. There we go. And so those edges are sewed together. There's no more seam. You can see that the seam is gone right here, which is great. We're going to need to do that with these pieces right here. So let's go back into shell mode and click on the shell. And it's really nice to be able to select the shell in Maya in 3D to see what the shell looks like. So I can move that shell over. Let's click on the other shell, and that one's over here. And so we can do the same thing with shell right here. Now I'm going to find out where the edge is. Right click over it, click on the edge, and you can see there's the edge. So what I want to do is I want to get this shell to be angled fairly close to the other shell and move it close up. There we go. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go in here and right click over and go to edge mode and double click on it. Now it does select everything, but there's a lot of edges right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to marquee deselect the pieces that I don't really need, which is a lot better than trying to select all those other ones. So I'm just going to deselect this, and I'm going to go to move and sew, Okay, and those pieces are sewed together. Look at that. Looks nice. We got another piece to sew together. And right here, we got these two pieces. So let's go back into here and let's find out where those pieces are. So I'm going to go back to shell mode. Okay. And this piece right here, that is down here. Let's move that over. And click on this piece right here and move that over. And this can be one piece. And we're going to go underneath and select those shells too as well. That shell, okay, put that over here, and that shell, put that over here. You can see why this can be time consuming, but when we get it all finished, it'll look pretty good. And there's that shell, and we got this shell here, and we'll go ahead and move those over. Those will be moved and sewed. Okay, move those over here. And then we'll have these two pieces. Okay, these two pieces will share a shell as well. Those two pieces. And then we've got these two pieces on top. Okay. And I think that's it. I think we might have another two pieces on this side too as well. And so those two pieces would be right here. Okay, so that looks good. I think that looks pretty good. So I think I got all the shells, and those are the ones that we split apart, but this is much easier to control than. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate this guy right here, and let's just knock this thing out really quickly here as fast as I possibly can. Alright, so go to edge mode and just select those edges here and deselect, whoops, and deselect anything that I accidentally got a hold of. And then we're going to go ahead and move and sew. Okay, those are moved and sewed, those are good. And the same thing with these guys right here. We need to find out where the edge is, where the middle part is on these. Hit the F key on that. Sometimes I can go to wireframe and see where the heck it is. Okay, that's not the right one, so I'm going to click on that. That's the outside, that must be the inside here. There we go. I think that's it. So double click on that and just deselect the pieces. And we probably, now that we know where they're at and how to connect them, then we'll go back to shell and take that shell and move it close. And we've got that tool that we have, the orient shell. Let's do this one, orient shell. And so they're both laying flat. Again, we got to find out where the middle edge is. Okay. Alright, so is that the middle edge? Yeah, that's the edge right there. Double click on that and deselect these. Okay. And so those will move and sew perfectly. I think they will. Let's go to move and sew and move to sew. There we go. That's great. That one's moved and sewed, and then we're going to find out where this one is. Again, we want to select the shells and orient those shells if we can, get those oriented properly. And then we want to move and sew these edges. There we go. Is that it? Nope, that's not it. That's the outside. Looks like that's the inside. There we go. Do that. Okay, so we'll move and sew. Alright, cool. And what do we got left? We have these two pieces and these two pieces. We already know that this one is good right here, so we'll move and sew that. We just got to deselect the rest of these. There we go. So move and sew. There we go. And these guys right here,